Ah, Cleopatra. Just hearing the name, you probably picture exotic beauty, epic love affairs, and, of course, a tragic end. But here's the thing. The story we all think we know, the one we've seen in movies and read in plays for 2,000 years, it's mostly fiction, written by the very people who destroyed her. So today, we're going to peel back those layers of propaganda and find the brilliant, powerful ruler hiding underneath.
So, what's the real story here? Was she just the ultimate femme fatale, a queen who used her charm to wrap the world's most powerful men around her finger? Or was she a razor-sharp political strategist, playing a deadly game of survival against the unstoppable rise of Rome? That's the question we're diving into.
Okay, let's break this down. The myth you've probably heard paints her as the last true Egyptian queen, a ruler who got by on her looks and was ultimately destroyed by a tragic love affair. But the reality? Well, it's way more impressive. She was actually the last Greek pharaoh from a long line of Macedonian rulers. She didn't rule by charm, she ruled with a formidable intellect. And her downfall wasn't about love, not really. It was a cold, calculated takedown by a rival superpower, Rome.
To really get who Cleopatra was, we've got to look past all those Roman legends and see the world she was actually born into. And let me tell you, it was a world of immense pressure, constant instability, and a kingdom well past its glory days.
Okay, this is a huge point, and it kind of changes everything. Cleopatra wasn't ethnically Egyptian. She was of Ptolemais. Her ancestor was one of Alexander the Great's top generals, who took over Egypt after Alexander died. For almost 300 years, her family ruled as Greek pharaohs from this incredible, cosmopolitan city of Alexandria, which was basically the cultural and intellectual center of the world at the time.
And you know, for all those centuries, her family pretty much stuck to their Greek roots, only speaking Greek. But Cleopatra, she did something totally revolutionary. She actually learned to speak Egyptian. In fact, she was a brilliant linguist who could reportedly speak at least 9 languages. And this wasn't just a hobby, you guys. This was a powerful political weapon. It gave her a direct connection to the people she ruled, something her family hadn't bothered with for generations.
So picture this. She takes the throne at just 18 years old, and she isn't handed some golden paradise. She inherits a complete and utter crisis. Egypt was basically a client state of Rome, drowning in debt that her own father had racked up. The kingdom's very survival hinged on one thing: her ability to play the dangerous game of Roman politics. And navigate them she did. Oh boy, did she. Cleopatra's reign wasn't really about romance. It was about a series of brilliant, high-stakes political moves where she allied herself with one Roman warlord after another to keep her throne and save her kingdom.
Her first big power play happens in a total whirlwind. It's 48 BC, she's in the middle of a civil war with her own brother, and who shows up in Egypt? Julius Caesar. She seizes the opportunity, forms an alliance, and not only wins the war, but a year later she gives birth to Caesarion, his one and only son, a huge link to Rome's future. And when Caesar is assassinated, she doesn't panic, she acts, immediately making their son her co-ruler.
And let's be clear, this was all business, pure strategy. Her alliance with Caesar wasn't some fling. It won her the crown, it got her Roman legions stationed in Egypt for her protection, and it even got lost territories like Cyprus back. And nothing, I mean nothing, shows her new status more than this. A golden statue of her, a living foreign queen, was placed inside a Roman temple. That just did not happen.
So after Caesar's gone, she makes her next power play, this time with Mark Antony. And again, you have to see this as a partnership of equals. She wasn't his mistress, no way. She was his primary political and financial backer. She's the one with the money, the grain for his armies, a whole fleet of warships. In return, he gave her Roman military might, returned huge chunks of land to her kingdom, and together they had children to rule a new Eastern empire they were planning.
And this all leads to this incredibly bold public ceremony, the Donations of Alexandria. They get up in front of everyone and declare their own children the rulers of huge territories across the East. Now, this was way more than a photo op. This was a direct challenge to Antony's rival back in Rome, a guy named Octavian. They were essentially drawing a line in the sand.
And yeah, that move, it was the last straw. It pushed everything to the breaking point. The final war wouldn't be won on the battlefield alone. What came next was a masterclass in propaganda, a total smear campaign waged by Octavian to turn the entire Roman world against that.
Octavian's plan was brilliant and absolutely brutal. He didn't attack Antony as a fellow Roman. No, he attacked him as a good Roman man who'd been corrupted by a dangerous foreigner. Cleopatra was painted as this evil sorceress, an exotic Eastern temptress who used witchcraft to enslave poor innocent Mark Antony.
Then, Octavian does something completely illegal. I mean, totally shocking. He breaks into a sacred temple, steals Antony's will, and reads it out loud to the Roman people. He used it to stoke their deepest fears, claiming Antony was planning to ditch Rome, move the capital to Egypt, and be buried there like a foreign king next to his foreign queen.
And these weren't just vague accusations. Oh no, he got specific. Stories started spreading, like the famous one about her dissolving a priceless pearl in vinegar just to win a bet. Now, true or not, who cares? It was genius marketing. It painted her as this wasteful, decadent, and totally un-Roman character. It was a story so good, it stuck around for 2,000 years.
And just like that, Octavian pulls off his masterstroke. He completely reframes the conflict. This wasn't going to be another messy civil war between two Roman guys. No, this was a righteous foreign war to defend Roman values from a dangerous foreign queen. By declaring war on Cleopatra herself, he united all of Rome behind him. It was pure political genius.
And it worked. The propaganda worked perfectly. The world turned on them, leading to the final, tragic act. But even backed into a corner, Cleopatra refused to be a victim. She took control of her own ending, making sure her legacy was one of defiance, not defeat.
The end. Well, it came fast. Their navy was crushed at the Battle of Actium. Octavian's legions just rolled into Egypt. Antony, hearing a false rumor that Cleopatra was already dead, killed himself. And finally, she was captured, a prisoner in her own palace, waiting to be humiliated in Rome.
But Cleopatra had one card left to play. When she finally met Octavian, her words were simple, and they were defiant. "I will not be led in a triumph." See, the ultimate prize for a Roman general was parading their most famous captive through the streets of Rome in chains. It was the ultimate victory lap. And she was telling him, to his face, "You will not get that from me."
And she meant it. At 39 years old, Cleopatra took her own life. This wasn't the act of a heartbroken lover. This was her final act of power, her final move on the chessboard. She chose to die a queen, in Egypt, on her own terms, rather than live as a prisoner in Rome on his. She controlled her own destiny right to the very end.
Her death really was the end of an era. Egypt was no longer a kingdom. It was just another Roman province. The entire Hellenistic age, which started with Alexander the Great, ended with her. Her son and heir Caesarion was hunted down and executed. And maybe most importantly, Octavian's propaganda, his version of the story, it became the official history. It became the story we've all been told ever since.
So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. Was Cleopatra really the enemy of Rome? Or was she just the last person, the last powerful, independent monarch with the brains, the money, and the ambition to stand in the way of its total domination of the world? Was she the last true rival Rome ever faced?